On one hand, Peter Navarro can go on and on about attacking India and also criticizing Prime Minister Modi for the kind of stance he has taken for his country amid the trade tensions. We have the word of assurance coming in from US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Let me again read it out for the viewers here, that he has struck a reassuring note amid the escalating tension. He has expressed confidence that the two countries will eventually resolve their differences. He gave an interview very recently to Fox News. Scott Bessent in that interview said that the US and India, the world's two largest democracies, share deep strategic ties and will get this solved. His comments came just hours after US President Donald Trump called the trade relationship quote-unquote totally one-sided. While Scott Bessent acknowledged concerns over India's continued purchase of Russian crude oil, he did stress that the broader US-India partnership remains very strong still. He described India's participation in the recent SCO summit in Tianjin with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping as quote-unquote largely performative, saying India's values align more closely with the US than with the Russia or China. With tariffs now totaling 50% on Indian goods, Scott Bessent reiterated that all the options are still on table, but also underscored diplomacy over division. And like we've been speaking about, amid growing friction between Washington and New Delhi, India has come under sharp scrutiny from a divided US leadership, but also received acknowledgement for its strategic importance. We start off with the rhetoric by White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro, where he continued attacking Prime Minister Narendra Modi for making a quote-unquote, in his words, strategic error by engaging with Russia and China at the recent SCO summit. But Navarro repeated his long-standing complaints about India's tariff structure and crude oil purchases from Russia, alleging that India profits by reselling this refined oil globally. But like we have already highlighted, in somewhat measured way, we have the statement coming in from US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who offered reassurance, saying the US and India, the world's two largest democracies, will get this solved. He noted that while differences did exist, particularly over the energy ties, with broader partnership remains strong. He even described India's participation at the SCO summit as largely performative, reiterating that India's core values are much closer to those of the United States than to Russia or China. Back here at home, India continues to emphasize its right to strategic autonomy, balancing global relations in its national interests without being drawn into binary camps. Meanwhile, criticism is also emerging within the US establishment, not against India, but against President Donald Trump's approach. Former US National Advisor Jake Sullivan has accused Trump of damaging the US-India ties due to alleged personal business links with Pakistan. Sullivan called it a quote-unquote huge strategic harm and also emphasized India's vital role in countering China's rise. Joining him, former NSA John Bolton slammed Donald Trump's tariff-heavy policy as short-sighted, arguing it undermines decades of US efforts to build trust with India and drive a wedge between New Delhi and Moscow. As India faces steep US tariff on its exports, analysts say pushing New Delhi too hard risks alienating a key democratic partner, especially at a time when global power equations are shifting very swiftly. India, for its part, remains committed to multilateral engagement and has continued to call for diplomacy, fairness, and mutual respect in global trade and also geopolitics.